special Burgh Cave here, man. I got my man GB, the uppity Yinzer. We have two fine gentlemen running for the Avonworth School Board. And GB and I have had many conversations about Avonworth from afar. I admire the sports success that you guys have in that school district. GB's told me a lot about the Avonworth School District, so I am very excited to hear this conversation, and I do have some questions based on what you guys are talking about. I think this is a wonderful thing that you guys are doing. So with that, GB, please take the floor and introduce Jim and Jarret, and let's go.
Absolutely. Welcome everybody, all to the audience. And I want to bring my man Jarret Schopf and Jim Herzik to the stage. How you guys doing today? Thanks for
Good.
taking some time to sit down with us and talk about your campaign a little bit. As we know, you guys are running for the school board. And so before we get into that, let's talk about Jarret Schopf and Jim Herzik, the men. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what really got you interested in wanting to even go into the school board to begin with. Because I can tell you, for me, I had somebody ask me if I wanted to do that a while back, and I said, no, sir, I'm not built for that. So I'm curious to see what what got you guys motivated, man.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Jarret. Thanks for having us on first. About me, I grew up in Shaler, which was a little bit larger version of Avonworth, I think. Tight knit community. When I graduated high school, I thought I was just going to work, do my thing, and just go through life. Coming out of high school, I was making like $600 a week in the year 2000, and I was like, "This is it. I'm set." And then I went on vacation. I came back. You're no longer needed, and I joined the military. Joined the Army. Stayed in there for 15 years.
Wow!
My first 6 years, I was in a National Guard unit. I was stationed right over in East Liberty, the Hunt Armory.
Jarret, how many tours did you do in Iraq and Afghanistan, if you don't mind me asking?
Just one, because I got hurt.
Got you.
So we came back. I came back from boot camp at the end of like 2001. My unit deployed December of 03. We came back February of 2005. After that, I went on active duty. But there I had some complications. I had 2 chest surgeries. I actually had a tumor on my thymic gland. And so they had to take that out. And then they had like more on my thymic gland. So I had to do back-to-back, surgeries. So there was no more like being an MP and tanker for me in the Army. So they said, you have to go behind a desk. I stayed in the Army, fought off med boards and stuff from 07 to 15. And then in 2015, I got medically retired, but I got hired into a program, and I now work with the VA. And I've been doing that since June of 2015. And my wife and my daughter, Callie, and we moved up here in May of 16. So I've been up here since May of 16. The main reason I wanted to be on the school board is I want to help. I feel that there's areas that need improvement that others don't. I just see the amount of time that people like yourself just dedicate to coaching, and the amount of people that just volunteer all the time. When I went down to Eagles, I saw it was the first time they're hey, we're going to put up goalposts down at the Eagles field. And I was like, who's going to come at 7:00 on a Saturday morning and go put up goalposts?
Yeah.
And you go down there, there's 20 people in 4 dump trucks, and then they're all volunteers putting up goalposts. So
community, man.
I only have a daughter, so I'm only a cheer dad, even though Like I might be like maybe the best cheer dad and announcer in Eagles history, but it's debatable. But
So ironically, that's actually
coach,
how I
obviously
met.
you don't want to coach.
Yeah, I would say ironically, that's actually how I met Jarret was through the Avonworth Eagles organization, where he started to do some commentary for us, some announcing, and he was not like anybody else that you ever heard in Avonworth Eagles history. At least as long as I was there, I was like, oh, this guy's a little bit different. And then when we went to the Super Bowl in 2020 and then also in 2022, this dude shows up in the Eagles, full Eagles uniform, like full outfit. Like how like the sumo wrestlers, you got the
And the
big
inflatable eagle.
floofy. Yeah, he had an inflatable eagle, bro. Like that's how I met. That's how I met Jarret. So, um, he intrigued me right away. Like I was very intrigued by him, but I didn't. But here's the crazy part: I thought he was a goofball, right? But then I didn't know anything about his military background and everything. I just knew him as the dude that was up in the booth acting a fool all the time, and he just made me laugh every time. I always laugh while he was listening, while I was listening to him do his thing. So when he said he wanted to go and be a part of the school board, I knew, like, I just watching his commitment to the kids down at the Avonworth Eagles field. First of all, he is a ball of energy. He gets all the other dads cheering with the other cheerleaders, which I think is completely awesome, right? Also as a cheer dad myself, a former cheer dad, I should say. But then I also see he's involved in everything, anything that's happening within the community. Jarret Schopf is there. Like it's just what it is. So I believe that his commitment, and then getting to know him, on a personal level, just through uppity Yinzers and stuff like that. We like to rib each other and have a good time. Like we get into really good, juicy debates and stuff. I'm like, you know what? This is exactly the type of person that I would vote for the school board, because I feel like that I think that's important to have a relationship with people that are, that you got to have real good communication, and that's one thing that I think Jarret would do well is something like that. So Herzik, Jim Herzik, man.
Yes, sir.
Also met him in Avonworth Eagles as well, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why is it that you are looking to be a part of the Avonworth School Board?
Hello. Yes. So like you said, that was 10 years ago, roughly.
Pretty close.
That all
man.
started,
yeah.
and then we did that 1 year. I coached for the 1 year with you guys, and then I have 4 stepkids who are no longer kids. So football, wrestling, and cheer, dad. From that, and then you meet people, then you mesh with people, and then you meet their kids, and you care about their kids, and so we've been going to games religiously for forever. From the tailgates and the restaurants to just being there every Friday, and then even the Eagles just every Saturday, and all the things we did, and everyone we've met, like you said, everyone's there helping all the time. So yeah, I mean, I care about everyone else's kids, like watching them play and watching them cheer and how everyone does all the time. So I started to care about everybody and their kids and how well they do. And I have a young daughter who I want to come up and go through and get the best out of her experience. So hello. There she's.
Love it.
There she
Love
is.
Right on cue.
Yes. Got on. Yeah, she knows. She's the boss. But I mean, Jarret went a little into more detail about himself. I don't have any interesting stories. I did not serve and do anything of that nature. But I'll I'll toot the horn of the tailgates I get going and getting everyone together. I love that stuff more than anything. Like being there, coaching the tailgates, having everyone together to support everyone's kids. And I've heard some things that I wasn't fond of that go on necessarily with certain groups, and I don't want anyone's kids that I know, and I definitely don't want my kid to have to deal with anything like that. So if I can change it, I'm going to try.
Absolutely. And you know what, Herzik, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit because I was about to give you your flowers.
Oh, sorry.
Jim is so one thing that I always appreciate, and even though I don't always show up because I'm always running around all over God's creation, but every single event, whether it's a football game, basketball game, if there's something going on pregame, I'm getting an invite from Jim Herzik. This is the place. This is the time. Be there, right? And I'm like, word, thanks, bro. And and we go from there. But so that's what this is what the thing that I'm very big on. Relationships. You know that, Dudek. You guys know it as well. And any person who is intentional with bringing people together, they have a big heart. They care about people, and that's one thing that I've noticed with Jim. Listen, the other thing, don't cross you can't talk about Avonworth either. You go on social media or something like that, and somebody try to talk about Avonworth, the first person that's going to come to defense is Jim Herzik. There ain't no ifs, no ands, no buts about it. You will not. Don't even try. Don't even try. He's coming at you. And that shows the passion that he has for this community, and for this school district. And I feel like that's exactly the type of fire and passion and intensity that we need on a school district. Somebody who's going to bring the community together. Because one thing that I don't know anybody from the school district, I'm from the school board, right? But in my head, if I had if I had a perfect vision for what a school board would look like for me personally, it would be, down to earth people,
Yep.
right, who care about our school district as a whole, right? Academics, sports, arts, music, all the above, right?
Yeah.
But also is very transparent with what is going on within the school district as well. But not only that, but also trying to, and how these guys are, like I said, I don't even know who the other people are, but I know who they are because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So they're not gonna shy away from any of the issues that may come up. Because they're always in the community. When I tell you they're at every single thing, dude, they're literally at every single thing. So that's the thing that really gets me excited and really got me saying, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do everything in my power to help tip the scales, if you will, and help them get in. Speaking of issues, let's talk about that for a second. Okay.
Mhm.
So I know that you guys have specific things that you guys are standing for in your campaign. Can you talk about that a little bit and what's really important to you? If you were to say, what would you say are the top 3 important issues that you really want to get addressed if you were on the school board?
I'll go. Safety at the buildings and at events, all events. The kids. That's the whole reason to do this.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
So, I was recently in the high school, and I'm just using this as an example. I'm not a fan of the way they designed the hallways and classrooms in other certain areas. I really don't feel safety was a concern at all in that aspect. I don't personally like it. I wish it wasn't that way. Other districts have an SRO in some buildings. like full time. And I feel that's a really big deterrent for any type of issues that may arise.
Yep.
And then, you know, everyone is different, and everyone it's science or foods class or a sport or the drama club or, you know, I mean, Bree went from cheer to drama and singing, and she's great at that and loves that. And you never know where they're going to end up. But, you know, they need that support for the things they want to do. It shouldn't be one mold pumping out A's and shaking her hand as they walk across the field. Like, things are so different now with the way kids learn and how different everyone is and what they want to do with themselves. And I think you need to maybe explore that a little more rather than just some cut dry curriculum. And then my last big thing is accommodations at events are not great, in my opinion.
Accommodations how?
Yeah.
So at a basketball game, we can't seat enough people. There was an incident this past season that if we had away bleachers, wouldn't have happened. A lot of things went on.
I was at that game.
we were all at that game, and you know, and that carried over from football. Obviously,
Yes, it did. Absolutely. It was
you know,
Avonworth and Beaver, Dudek. Just to bring you up to speed, it was Avonworth and Beaver, and you know there was a lot of history, bad blood. They beat us the last game of the year in the regular season of the football season, and then
stole our section.
Stole the section. Then we came back and beat them in the playoffs, and it was all the same, basically the same guys, right? Playing basketball against each other. And if you weren't playing basketball, you were literally in the stands, like right there, talking as much smack as you possibly can. So imagine that. What do you think happened?
Yeah, exactly what everyone knew was going to happen. And you know, and then the accommodations for the band and the kids when they practice and at the field, in the field house and parking, you know, that all that goes back to safety as well. Even with the fight, in an emergency situation, you're not necessarily egressing quickly. You know, you have one exit. So there's just some things that I feel should change. Safety across the board in the building, at events, just across, as a whole.
I got you. Thank you. What about you, Jarret?
Well, since my ace Callie recently got out of Eagles, I actually didn't even know that the Eagles field is owned by the school. And like the Eagles field house needs some significant upgrades, to say the least. You know, I just think that there's a lot of seating issues at every facility. Seems to be a very common thing. We have a lot of Whippeal Championship banners getting raised, and nobody can sit down in a bleacher to watch them get raised. And I think that's a shame for a lot of the parents and aunts and uncles and whoever that put a lot of time in driving those kids to practice and just putting their time in, all like the adults putting their time in, but those kids putting their time in, and they're they play off baseball again in Avonworth and can't host a game. Yeah, because of the facility. I mean, you're not going to
do you one better, Jarret. I'll do you one better. Not only can they not host, but they were not. They were denied batting practice today. That was on social media today, and there was
we saw that
parent who was extremely irate. They're in a playoff run right now, and they do not have the facilities to accommodate batting practice. Somebody else was probably using the facility for whatever reason, and as a result, they were denied as they're getting ready for their they're on a postseason run. And what did they win? They won Whippeals last year, right?
They made it to state finals. This is
Yeah,
this is the second
finals.
time.
Yeah, they made it to the state finals.
I have a question for you guys. And obviously, as somebody who's not in the school district, and I have not been up there, but in my area, it's the same thing with girls softball that dominates our school district. And I was fortunate to have a few daughters play softball, and I'm with both of you guys. I was you guys in my school district cheering on, helping coach, do all that kind of stuff. And we too have struggles with facility issues and things like that. We could host a lot more within I don't know if we're more spread out than you guys are within Avonworth. When you say that they don't have or they cannot do batting practice for such, say we're just talking about baseball, is it a lack of space? Or is it, would you guys maybe repurpose some facilities to create space for baseball and maybe other sports as in like softball or soccer or something like that? What would you guys do in this, as far as like a first step, at least in exploratory purposes, to solve this lack of space or facilities for these kids to hone in on their skills, especially since they're so successful in their sports?
Great question.
The main thing is communication. It's the
Yes.
hardest thing to get right, and it's the easiest thing to screw up. And when people, even whether there was like the middle school team was trying to practice and varsity couldn't get their BP in today, or like whatever it is, somewhere along the way there was some sort of a miscommunication. Now,
which happens more often than not.
Right. But like I would assume that a Whippeal playoff game would supersede whatever else was going on in that batting cage.
Anything else, reschedule the other thing.
So it's a scheduling thing, and
so I mean, I think that there should be some.
Okay.
I think the simplest thing would just be like people need to learn how to communicate a little bit better. But I mean, there is definitely a lack of space right now. You would have to get pretty creative here.
I think they're being
with the current layout of things.
Let me interject, Jarret. I think they're being nice. I'm not going to be nice because I'm not running for the school board. Okay, we do not have enough facilities. We're not even close to having enough facilities. We are a 3A team, and we have single A facilities right now. Okay, if you look at our field house right now at the high school, it is, first of all, it's co-ed. Okay, that's a huge issue. It's supposed to be co-ed, right? But it's really not co-ed. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, it really isn't. It's really at the end of the day, it is the boys' football locker room, okay, and the weight and the weightlifting area, their gym, and then there in the back is the PT area, right? But it's not accommodating for specifically. It's not accommodating for girls at all, like not one bit. And fortunately, and I know, Dudek, like if you were here and you had to deal with that as a, you know what I mean, like as a dad with two girls, and dude, it's way too risky when you got adolescent boys and adolescent girls, that close, and they all work out like in the same area. Like the girls work out in the locker room. Like it's. I digress. Okay, that's just one thing. Okay, now. My understanding is that we do have some friends from that are going for the Ohio Township, some of the seats for Ohio Township, and one of the questions is what is your stand on looking at the land that's down, if you know where the old golf facility used to be? Green Valley, what's your stand on that? Because they one of the big sticking points is that they want to get something done, and with last year's budget, for whatever reason, it's just that there wasn't a lot of distribution towards facilities specifically for sports. So my question is, what's your stance on that?
I'm under the understanding a higher tax revenue will be headed our way as well with Target and Sam's Club. I may be incorrect, but if that's the case, then that's a surplus, and that land is big enough for us to have a home field and facilities and safe, separate locker rooms and training facilities for our entire district.
Yes.
Sounds like a good plan. So
Yes. Go ahead, Dudek. You were gonna say something.
yeah, no, I think that is a good plan. And that's why I was just getting. And it sounds like it's a multi-layered thing that you would solve. I mean, repurposing, getting more space, better scheduling and communication, like Jarret was saying. So what about? And I think one of the points you guys were going by, with GB was sharing me with what you guys, some of your points you guys are campaigning on, which I think are all fantastic, by the way. And it sounds like modernizing the training facilities, but also what about modernizing the schools themselves? I think that was a point you guys were talking about too. Jim, you're already talking about the security and some of the flow and stuff. What about some of that? Like, how would you modernize, or what would be things? I can't talk. Be some things you would do to modernize the schools? Maybe Jarret, if you want to take the first crack.
When my daughter came home and she told me this, I thought she was absolutely crazy. She goes, Dad, we ain't got no lockers in middle school and high school. I said, what do you mean? She said, there's no lockers like in the school. And I said, like, how's that possible? It's a school. She said, there are no lockers. I thought she was joking. So we go for the presentation, like I'm like walking around and I'm like, okay, like we're down the main hall. Okay, maybe there's no lockers down the main hall. I'm looking down the side halls. No lockers. Like nowhere to be seen. There's no lockers. I mean, they have Chromebooks and like it's not like they're carrying 10 textbooks around, but still, we live in Western Pennsylvania. The weather sucks all year. Let's just be honest. Kids need at least minimally a place to put a coat in their lunch.
Yeah.
You have people that play softball, baseball. They're it's not like when we grew up and they're having $80 Easton bats. They're swinging $400 whatever bats, and they're putting them in a drop zone room. Okay, I hope somebody's not in a hurry and like throws something and cracks a $400 bat. It's just I would put lockers in. But when Jim was talking about the security and stuff, Avonworth has one SRO for 3 buildings. So as like I take my daughter to school in the mornings. That's one SRO that has to direct traffic, do all that at the high school, middle school, hop over to the primary center and do that, and then go back over to the high school. But then there's like not really anybody at the high school for 45 minutes. And it's, to me, there should be somebody at every building.
One for one at least, right?
I'm not saying you need like John Wick in every building, but you need, you know what I mean? Like you need
at
a
least
presence
RoboCop though, right?
in
at
the
least
building.
RoboCop. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's like I was saying. If somebody's there,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if somebody's there and they know, good. Sorry.
No, I mean, especially with real little kids, that is such like a great way to build like relationships, like with the police and stuff. Like, I mean, like my uncle was a cop for 39 years. So like, it was like a little different. Like I just talked to him. I don't care. Like GB knows that. I'll go up to anybody and talk to you for like 30 minutes. It don't matter. But like, I get most
Yes, he
people
will.
aren't like that, I guess. But like, I think it helps. Like, people just, they get a little bit more comfortable around them, and there's somebody there all the time. So if something, hopefully nothing ever happens, but if something did happen, there's some communication and there's like backup that's real close.
Got it.
Instead of calling it in and hope there's somebody at the police state, you know what I mean?
So let me ask you a question. In closing, what do the people of Avonworth have to do to vote for you on, what's that, the 20th, right? May the 20th.
Yes.
They have to write us
So
in.
our names need written in on the ballot. There's a space for write-in.
Seats. There's
Say
5
again?
people that have their names next to the bubbles. Then there's open slots below it for write-in. All you got to do is write our name in, and hopefully we can get this thing going.
How many seats are they taking? How many seats are open?
4.
4
4.
seats. Okay. And how many candidates
There's
total are there?
7.
7. Okay.
2 incumbents and 5 new people.
Okay. All right. Dig it. Okay.
And you don't have to vote. You don't have to fill it out for, like, there's 4 open seats. You can choose up to 4 people, or you can just write in me and Herzik and call it a day and go about your business.
I like that plan.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Awesome.
Blue ink or black ink or
Hey, make sure you listen. Every single time I had to double and triple check to make sure I was spelling Jarret's name right. So don't let them get you if they spelled it wrong. They're like, "Oh, that don't count. I don't know who that is." They make it
man.
SOPF.
Yeah.
Like foof.
Like Schopf, just drop the
Yeah, there you go. Schopf. There you go. Vote for Jarret Schopf. Vote for Jim Herzik on Tuesday. Thank you guys for spending some time with us today on the Burgh Cave. And I'll bring
Thanks
it back
for
to
having
you,
us.
Jack.
Appreciate
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Good luck. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.